bum 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 bum. Ooh, big ending on that one. Nice new intro for the new podcast. New intro, new podcast, new me. So I'm feeling pretty good about it. This is no longer the CAIN Stevens Paranormal Super Show. This is no longer Lost and Found with CAIN Stevens. This is the superest of shows, the CAIN Stevens Super Show. Man, that's like supercalifragilisticexpialidocious type stuff. But I'm glad to be back. I'm glad to find the zest to get back into this. This is going to be my new launching pad, the mothership, if you will, and we're going to talk about really anything and everything. I mean, I'm still going to talk about ghosts. We're going to have a big October of that. Still going to dig into religion and everything. But, man, there's just so much stuff to talk about. I don't want to be stuck in a box. I want to do something better. So, I just decided to relaunch the old podcast one more time and then just see how it goes. So I hope you all continue to listen, and let's just get right into this thing. So, first off, things that have been going on since if you've listened to my last podcast, I went to Alabama with my wife and kids, and my brother and his wife and kids, my sister, my parent. It was an ordeal. We flew, which was pretty cool. It was my kids' first time flying, and that was pretty awesome seeing their reactions. And then we went on into Lake Martin in Alabama, and that was sweet. We did all sorts of things. We shot machine guns. We fished. We swam. My daughter lost her glasses in the lake, close to the dock, and I dove and eventually got them. So yeah, I mean, it was a pretty eventful deal. Pretty good. We made it out without killing each other or anything like that. So yeah, I'd say it was a win overall. But it got me thinking about my love for the Civil War and all that, which I didn't really find any Civil War areas in the Dadeville area and all that we were in, but we did find a cool battlefield. It was the Horseshoe Bend battlefield. If you don't know the history on the Horseshoe Bend, so basically what it is what is it? I think it's the Tuscaloosa River or whatever. Through there's an area where the Indians that were there, the Creek Indians as they called them, they lived in this spot where basically the river kind of wrapped around into a horseshoe. And so they had like these logs, this big wall set up so that basically the only way in to get to their little spot would be the river, around them, or it would be to come straight through them. And so, they had a pretty sweet setup, but unfortunately for them, and it was really sad being there and seeing all that, is unfortunately for them, Andrew Jackson and the boys decided to roll in there with horses and cannons and all sorts of things. And honestly, it was like one of the deciding battles between the Creek Indians and those forces, and it basically kind of shaped that area of Alabama and Georgia. And it's just, I don't know, I love history like that, but it's also really tragic and really sad. So then, of course, me being who I am, I'm like, oh well, it's got to be haunted, right? So I get on Google and I look at different things, and wouldn't you know, I mean, there's lots of apparitions and different things seen there. So man, I would love to be there at night with cameras and audio and all this stuff. And I'd love to see what you see the site then. During the day doesn't do it justice, but it was a pretty cool thing. So if you're ever in that area, I think that you would dig that sort of thing if you like history like I do, and I love it. So, history is going to be a big thing about what we do on this podcast. I'm actually reading a history style book right now called, I believe it's, what is it? It's What If the South Won or whatever. And I am not a Southern apologist to that sort of thing, but it was just interesting to me. I'll try to see who the author was on this. There it is. If the South Had Won the Civil War by McKinley Cantor. I got it at the good old library here in Lincoln, Nebraska. And I don't know, it was just really interesting to me. I guess my big takeaway from it after reading it was it seems to me that the North had it going on. I mean, they had more railroads, they had more roads in general, they had more factories, they had a lot of things at their disposal. But it seems like General Lee, Robert E. Lee, it seems like he was kind of a straightforward general, battle him, head to head at all costs, just try to wipe out their armies. But, from what I took out of it, I think they probably could have won the war. They had better generals. They had, better trained military a lot of the time. It was simply the fact that if they had listened to Stonewall Jackson wanted to kind of ruin the infrastructure of the North. They wanted to go after the White House and take that over and take over factories and kind of go around all the fighting. So I don't know. It's a really interesting book. I would suggest it if you're into that sort of thing. I am. So yeah, give it a read. It's a really good book. So another thing we did when we were there was like I said, we shot machine guns, which we chose one of the days when it was like, I don't know, not really a Great Lake day. It rained a lot down there, which was fine for us. It's still good to swim and everything, but we ended up winding in the hills and going over by the Lake Martin Dam, and we ended up finding this place where you can, like, as a family, do machine gun shooting. So we're like, yeah, of course we want it. It's like a bucket list thing, right? We can hold Uzis and do the gangster thing and shoot it sideways or something, which of course it wasn't like that, but the guy was really cool that kind of walked us through all of it and did all the safety stuff. And I guess he was like a touring sound guy with the Outlaws, the band, which was really cool. And he's even credited on the Eagles live album Hell Freezes Over and the Who album. So yeah, the guy was, needless to say, he was pretty cool, but he was really good at talking us into stuff too. So it seemed like it was really easy to spend money on magazines, and by magazines I mean the ammo magazines. Heck, we probably would have bought pretty much anything he would have sold us. So if he was writing magazines on his own, we probably had done that too. But it was a really cool experience. I got to shoot the giant Browning gun that's been around for like over 100 years, and I got to shoot like an M. It wasn't even M16. I think it was like an M. I don't even know. Yeah, you military people probably beat me up for it, but I don't know. Was it like an M90 or something? I don't know. It was kind of like an M16, but it was really cool, really powerful, and I don't know. I shot at a silhouette of a deer and hit him many times in the head, so so that was all right. But it was cool watching I didn't know that they would. It was interesting because Dadeville, right before we went there, had just had that school shooting or was it? No, it was a birthday party shooting. And so I just found it extremely interesting that they would allow our kids to enjoy the joys of shooting a machine gun in a safe environment. But they liked it. They looked a little bit timid about it, obviously. But I just thought it was a cool experience. I mean, how many kids go to school and tell their friends, "Oh, what'd you do this summer?" "Oh, I shot machine guns in Alabama." It's one of those deals. So we were proud parents. It reminds me of when we went to Silver Dollar City years ago, which if you haven't been in Branson, I would tell you it's my favorite place on earth. If I could live there or work there as an actor or something, or a performer, that would be my dream come true. But we went there like my entire childhood. We had season passes, and my grandparents didn't live very far from there, so it was pretty cool. But it reminds me of when my kids were young. They were just old enough to get on the roller coaster, or not old enough, but big enough to get on the roller coasters. And we kept giving them a chance to chicken out, go to the side, take the chicken out route, but they wouldn't. So they got on this roller coaster called the Powder Keg. And the Powder Keg is basically it's really fast, cool roller coaster, but it like you start on it and you go forward a little bit, right at the beginning of the ride, and then it shoots you to the side a little bit, like slowly, and then it does this countdown, and then boom, you go from 0 to whatever in like no time at all. It's super crazy. And of course they were all screaming and crying and peeing their pants. So by the end of it, of course, we felt like that was like an extremely horrible mistake. So it just, it's not all rainbows and sunshine. You don't always make the best decision. I mean, they lived, they went through it, they got through it. So, but it wasn't the smartest decision on our part as parents. So what do you do, right? But it kind of reminds me of that. So chalk it up for, I don't know if it's a win, but chalk it up as something for our parenting. So next, let's, I want to do some segments in this a little bit. I like doing segments on podcasts. I like to keep it I'm going to stick to certain types of podcasts or different, what am I thinking of here? Just all different topics and all different things. I'm going to try to do some different stuff here. So we'll throw some stuff at the wall and see what sticks. But one thing that I always like to do in all the podcasts I do is give you a little bit of news. So with that being said, let's tear into a little article I saw on the old interwebs here. Oh, the news. All right, so this one from, like I stated before, from CNN.com. It says 3 words a crowd of Florida beachgoers didn't expect to hear during their Sunday in the sun. It's a bear. A bear was spotted splashing through the Gulf of Mexico before running up the shore at Destin, a coastal city in northwestern Florida's Panhandle region, just before noon local time on June 11th. We had been watching him several minutes come in from out pretty far, beachgoer Chris Barron told CNN. Most people didn't realize it was a bear. Barron took out his phone and started recording as multiple people were walking through the ocean. One man was just a few feet away from the bear as it started to swim up and shake the water off its fur. In the video, they had a video for this too, so you could check that out also. But a child is heard shouting the alert as the bear runs through the sand. The crowd was in shock, Barron said. So, I mean, how terrifying, right? You go to Florida, say you're from like Montana or something, and you go to Florida to get away from all that crap, and you're out there trying to catch yourself a little sunburn, and get some sun, get some color in you, get that farmer's tan turning nice and golden bronzed, and then, well, damn it, look over and you see a freaking bear flopping around in the water and scaring everybody. I mean, like, it had to be the stuff out of nightmares. I know people who've watched. I just watched Cocaine Bear the other day, so this really stuck out to me as, and being that it was in Florida and the whole Scarface thing, I would assume that this bear was probably on cocaine. But I digress on that deal. So, well, there's some news for you. I hope you like that ridiculous little article that I read to you. But this is the truth according to them. So I believe it when I see it personally. I think it was just a guy in a Bigfoot costume running around the beach. But you can check that out on CNN.com under the travel section, or I think you can watch it on YouTube and different places. So there's your news for this episode anyway. All right, well, so I gotta address something here. So this first episode, I had a big guest. Well, big in the fact that it was a really good interview. I'm not going to get into who it was or give you any tips as to the person, because it was a it was a series of wild and crazy events. But needless to say, I won't be using any of that audio, even though it was a great interview. I wish you could hear it. But I won't be using any of that audio from it, and so I had to kind of punt, and since I had a deadline that I set for myself, I decided to go another route. Tried to get a hold of a couple other guests, and they just weren't ready to come on, so we're just going to kind of have to do, just do something else here, do a different topic. So, I want to address a serious issue out there, which I know there's a lot of stuff out there, and a lot of probably talking about mental health and the crisis therein that's going on. But I mean, I want to, after the interview that I had with that person and the fallout that I had with them, I mean, and this is not me punching down at them. I respect them. I'm just simply saying, it was apparent to me that maybe I'm dealing with someone with, with some mental health issues, and maybe they're going through a tough time in their life. I don't know, but I myself have been through struggles. Sometimes your anxiety, I have ridiculous anxiety. I don't know how I ever made it as a as a public performer, a musician, and all the stuff that I've done in massive crowds and public places. But well, I do know, I panicked. I masked it with drinking and alcoholism and that type of stuff before to get through it all. I felt like I didn't have an edge. It was like right before a performance. It's like, oh, I'll take a couple shots, just to keep me honest, just to get me entertaining, and then it's just such a ridiculous thing. But it's just wild to me that this type of stuff, anxiety, depression, and all this can be misconstrued for severe mental health issues. So, I can't say for sure that that person isn't going through some of the same things. But I mean, some of the stuff that was said, and it's the stuff on the podcast, all sorts of things. Yeah, I mean, making bold claims like For example, one of the topics was, I mean, I can talk about some of the topics. I'm just, like I said, I'm just not going to clue you towards a person. Was that Jay-Z, rapper Jay-Z, um, is an apparent devil worshiper, and he has alerted the evil forces of nature to ruin Beyonce and make her part of this. I mean, I guess stuff like that, like cooking up the wildest stuff. And yes, it makes for a great podcast. It's very interesting, but whether or not that's going on, I have no idea. But I really don't think so. I really think that that's a form of paranoia and almost like I mean, there's a fine line between liking conspiracy theories and stuff and believing all this, or like going on about, I mean, like the belief in flat earth and all that stuff. I mean, if a person, I'm not, if that's how a person feels, that's great. But I mean, blatantly ignoring any science whatsoever and just cooking up these almost schizophrenic ideas is baffling to me. And I mean, I just feel bad for people like that. I mean, and they have a false. It's not even that. It's a false sense of reality that they're living. Um, saying, making bold claims as to their fame and everything is just wild, and then going from 0 to 100 in a second, and getting so angry for no reason at all, and wanting to come threaten to fight and kill me and all this stuff is it's nutty. I mean, it's not necessary. I will never share who the person was to to anyone in this audience, but I use it as a cautionary tale, that you just never know what people are going through. You never know what they're suffering from, and honestly, I mean, for me, a person who is nervous around a bunch of other people, and just really sometimes it's trusting of just the human experience in general at times, I would say, I do relate with them, because I mean, I too, because of thoughts misconstrued, were could have been and have been accused of being, having mental health issues. And maybe it's different than that, though. I mean, psychologically, if you're looking at it from a psychologist perspective or something, I mean, maybe what's going on is not mental health. I mean, maybe it's just the person is extremely depressed, having a bad day. So I just want to bring that up. I'm personally sincerely sorry for whatever I did to the person who was going to be on the show. I'll never trust them again. I mean, I'll forgive them, but I'm not going to forget the situation, and I'm never going to forget any of it. And it's a cautionary tale to me. I mean, reaching out to people for interviews and stuff it's not hard for me, but it's like, I love interviewing people, because I find that human beings are so interesting. I mean, we are. That just the fact that we're alive, the fact that we're even born, and here we are talking, and here I am blabbing on a microphone, and just the intellectual intricacies of all of us is amazing. And so I just think that well, I just look at the situation for what it was. I really wish, because I think that it would have been a good it would have been a great podcast, but then as I look at it, I'm like, it's not really a good look for this person. So it really did work out. Things have a weird way of working out. I wish it hadn't have. I wish our relationship hadn't worked out in a angry, would have been violent type scenario had we been face to face instead of talking on on whatever platform. But I using it to sharpen myself up. I don't mean any harm to them. I care. I still care. I forgive them. I'm just forgive. I won't forget. I won't be dealing with this person any longer in any facet, and that's fine. So, I just figured I would address what I believe is what we have really going on is a mental health crisis, and everybody knows that. And the last thing I want to say about it is, I find that therapy can be very very beneficial to people. I mean, I've been to therapy, different times throughout my life, and it has really helped me to get through things. I mean, it wasn't easy for me to have the heart problems that I have and accept my, possible, my, staring in the face of my mortality. It hasn't been easy, but with therapy and a steady mind and just somebody, because my mind is a spinning wheel. I'm an overthinker. I'm a deep thinker. I read a lot. I do, but I sit around, and when my hands are idle, I really do. I'm doing nothing. I really do tend to overthink everything and just worry all the time. So call that what you will. I'd say anyone who truly knows me knows it's not mental illness. It is it's more mental sadness than anything. Just man, just this mind that I have. I thank God for it sometimes, and I just it's a curse sometimes too. So that's all I got to say about that. So well, we'll try to move on to something else here. Since I punted on what we were doing, I decided to do a little eerie top 10 eerie spaces, eerie places. Since I do love the paranormal. No, not every show is going to be about the paranormal, but I do love talking about it, and it's a fun topic to have coming up. So I took this out of, I bought this. I'm guilty as charged of always around Halloween time buying those, $12 magazines, like the better magazines that come out. And this one in particular I bought was World's Scariest Places. I think, and I got it at like CVS, so look out for it. They always have, like the magazines, like the cover is like more of a hard cover, or not hard, but harder cover than like just a shrill little small piece of paper. But it's like a nicer magazine. It's worth the $12 or $12.99 or whatever to me. So in here, there's a ton of different places. I mean, it talks about the history of the Winchester Mystery House, let's see here. And it's got a ton of cool stuff. I mean, it's got England's top 10 haunted places. It's got Forbidden Cities. It's got all, but it's super cool, man. So this one was in this top 10 that I chose to do was in the dark history section. Ooh, because I love history. I'm a history buff. So I think we're gonna do a top 10 dark history. Okay, eerie spaces and eerie places. So we'll just do a brief synopsis on some of these, but let's talk about it here. So So, number 10, starting on the list, is Corvin Castle in Romania. What is Corvin Castle, you're wondering? It's constructed in the 15th century by a Hungarian military leader, uh, John Hunyadi. It's a fairy tale looking castle with colored roofs, towers, a massive dungeon, circular stairways, an impressive sight. Locals claim that Vlad the Impaler, aka the guy who they based Dracula off of, uh, real nutty guy. If you haven't, well, cool hang, for anybody who likes to who like to impale people and torture those who opposed him. Um, Locals claim that Vlad the Impaler was jailed there for years, and it drove him to madness. So, that may be based on thin evidence. I don't know, but those are just the claims. But supposedly this place gives you a extremely eerie feeling. There are plenty of reports of a ghostly activity there. So Corvin Castle in Romania. If you're in the Romania area and you're listening, I'd love to hear from you, but you're probably not. So number 9 on the list is in Scotland. This one is if I butcher these, I'm sorry. Culloden Moor, Moor, Scotland. The last stand of Jacobite Rising in 1746. This windy, cold, desolate land is a site where 1,500 Jacobites and as many as 400 redcoats were killed in a fierce battle. Redcoats being British soldiers, I believe. So they had a fierce battle there. Today, visitors hear cries of pain and clashing swords. So they hear people screaming out, crying, just screaming in agony, swords clanking. One person says, I've walked a lot of battlefields. This is not just one person. This is the Outlander author, Diana Gabaldon. Most are not haunted. This one is, she says. So it has a picture of the last one had a picture of Vlad the Impaler with an arrow pointing at him. So that's cool. You should check out some of this stuff. Just do a Google search. But we're doing the top 10 out of this magazine for now. So, the Culloden Moor, it looks like a giant round rock formation kind of tower. It's pretty cool. It looks like anything out of Game of Thrones. So, they say that's worthy of being on the list. So that's number 9. Let's see here. We got one in New Zealand. Carrington Psychiatric Hospital in New Zealand, originally called the Wau Lunatic Asylum. This Victorian era facility in Auckland operated for 130 years, housing 900 mentally ill men and women at its peak. The site is now a college for architecture and design, whose students blame those tortured souls for the flickering lights, rattling keys, dancing shadows, books flying up the shelves, and occasional shove in the back. So, I would say the asylum sounds to be very very active still. I don't think I've seen this on any of the ghost shows. I don't know. I don't know. Maybe you are, maybe you're not. I was a original Ghost Hunters fan. I love that they brought it back. I love the fact that they did all the they did all of the kind of like the behind the scenes stuff, what is a paranormal investigation group? And they had normal lives and everything. And then we got Ghost Adventures, and that just kind of blew our minds, because it's so entertaining. You wonder if it's rigged. I know they go to the most haunted places, but I just, it's so darn entertaining. Zach Bagans or not, he My wife hates him when we watch it because he's very dramatic about everything, and you know, I mean, like it's so over the top. But we always continue. She always continued watching it because it was always funny to see what they would do to Aaron on the show, and we loved Nick Groff, and we hated when he left. So, but there's all these ghost shows, and so I tend to watch all those. I tend to watch probably far too much ghost stuff, which is why people probably think I'm nuts. So, and that's okay. I'm not. I think I'm just curious more than anything. We all want to know what happens when we die, and I'm just always been fascinated with the ghost story and the things that have been described by my family as like a family ghost story. So that one was in New Zealand. That was Carrington Psychiatric Hospital. So check that one out if you're in New Zealand, or do a simple Google search, and I'm sure you'll find a bunch of haunting stuff. This one is notorious in the United States. It hails as one of my favorite subjects of all time, which is the Civil War. We even had family members that were in the Civil War, and I believe even died in the Civil War. So this one is at number 7 is drumroll please, Gettysburg Battlefield. Of course, many tourists believe they've spotted ghosts on the hallowed Civil War battlefield. One says he got a video of them, an eerie human-shaped form drifting behind the old cannons. Another claimed he got this strange, ominous feeling. Just felt it. Which that happens in a lot of places. You go to haunted sites, and I don't know if it's the haunted house effect or what it is, but you just can feel the pain and the eeriness of it all. So let's see. There's plenty of evidence that those bloodiest 3 days of war in 1863 made that region one of the most haunted spots in America, and I couldn't agree more. I mean, when we were down in Alabama, I was so hoping to find, and I was so excited that we found the Horseshoe Bend battlefield. It was not a Civil War battlefield, but it was around that era. There's bloody battles that happened there, and it is apparently haunted. So I just wish that we could have seen it at night, and tried to really walk around and investigate it, but it was very cool. So that's number 7, good old Gettysburg. So those of us in the United States here, you can go visit. You can just drive there. I've got a friend who I grew up with who lives in, I think, Philadelphia, so he can tell me if that's haunted. I'll have him on the show one of these days. He's a really cool guy. Number 6 is another hop, skip, and jump away. This one is in Louisiana. My horrible attempt at any sort of Cajun accent was really not even not needed, or it was really kind of unexpected by me. So Myrtle's Plantation in Louisiana. I've been to Louisiana, and it's very cool. I have not been to Myrtle's Plantation, but it would be super cool if I had. Let's look at this one. It says a ghost of a turbaned slave girl is one of the many spirits lurking in the stately pre-Civil War mansion where a baccarat crystal chandelier jangles, beds shake, a piano plays the same chord, and sudden gusts of cold wind mysteriously materialize. Doubters should consider. One visitor snapped a photo of what looks like a girl in antebellum dress staring out of a window. So I have seen this on different ghost shows, and they did have some really compelling evidence from those. Definitely screaming and crying out and all sorts. I don't remember the piano playing, but I always wondered, like, when you get those sort of things, like in some places, you can hear like full songs happening and all, and then a place like this, I mean, is it just a ghost trying to get your attention, and the only thing they can muster up is, I don't know, but I always found that very interesting, um, that sort of aspect. But Myrtle's plantation is said to be extremely haunted and very beautiful. It's got all the, I don't know, they look like, weeping willows and all sorts of stuff on the plantation, and it's just a really cool place. So I would suggest going to that. That's number 6 on the old list. Now we got another one from the United States, and this one I'm probably going to butcher the title, but that's okay. Coming in at number 5. Let's see. This one is, I'm just gonna give it my best here. Iroquois Theater in Illinois. I think I got that. I don't know. You can, if you're playing along at home, you can try to search Iroquois. Iroquois. Not to be confused with Jamiroquai from the 90s. Oh boy. Anyways, Iroquois Theater. The moment it was declared to be fireproof, you knew trouble was coming, it says. And it did. In the worst way, when a blaze ripped through Chicago's Iroquois Theater in 1903, the locked fire doors prevented the 2,000 theatergoers from quickly escaping, contributing to the death of 602 people. 212 of them were children. The back alley, which served as a morgue, is now haunted by the ghosts of the dead. So, there's nothing. This one has a horrific tragedy, which is pretty standard in hauntings, right? A lot of tragedy. You wonder why they stick around. Is it just energy, extreme energy from the tragedy that happened and all of the bad things that took place? I don't know, but I mean that it has all the makings of a truly eerie and haunted place. It doesn't list any of the claims there, so I would have we would have to look that one up. I have not even heard of this one, but then them eventually using it as a morgue, that's always good too, right? If you so that one, I would assume that one is just an eerie feeling place, an eerie space, just because of the dark history of it all. But I know nothing about the true ghostly activity there. Okay, this next one coming in at number 4 is out of South Korea, which I will probably honestly never make it to South Korea in my lifetime, so I'm going to take their word for it, as will a lot of you. So this is Gonjiam Psychiatric Hospital. It's always a psychiatric hospital. We're talking about mental health in this. Yeah, it's very interesting that they used to just handle any problems, be it what we call anxiety and being on the spectrum and all this stuff. They just threw them in a psychiatric, and then they just went nuts. It's like being in it was like being in jail for these people. They wouldn't let them out. This one says, shuttered in the 1990s, this hospital deteriorated into something out of a horror movie with littered hallways, peeling paint, and rusting furniture. So naturally, filmmakers took notice. In 2018, found footage flick Gonjiam Haunted Asylum was shot on location. You'll have to check that out. Loosely based on the psychiatric hospital, with fictional tales of mysterious patient deaths. Today, the hospital exists only on screen. It was torn down in 2018. So if you want to visit this place, you're going to either have to visit the parking lot that they probably made it into, or or you're gonna have to visit it on that film. So that was a great commercial for Gunjim Haunted Asylum. I mean, I think that's how it's pronounced. I mean, Gonjiam. I think that's close enough. So look it up. I'll check that. I'll get back to you guys on that one. I love found footage flicks anyway. I'm super excited for the new Never Hike Alone will be coming out. I believe this October, which is a Friday the 13th fan film. Never Hike Alone was a found footage style fan film of Friday the 13th, and it was done so well. Like, it was you might as well add it to the Friday the 13th collection because it was so good. And so I'm excited about that too. It was followed up by, what was it, Never Hike in the Snow, and that was also amazing. Had some Friday the 13th alum in it as well, so I would definitely, if I were you, check out all of that. And I would check out this one too if you like found footage films and horror movies. But let's get moving down the old list here to number 3. I'm getting excited for number 1. This one is another one in Romania. This one is Bran Castle, built in the 14th century off the steep cliffs of Transylvania. This imposing fortress with secret passageways, tunnel stone staircases, conical towers, and rooms stocked with antiques and armor look like something from the pages of Dracula. Indeed, Bran Castle not only may have inspired the 1897 Gothic novel, but the Dark Knight himself. By Dark Knight, they're not talking about Batman, they're talking about Dracula, of course. So Vlad the Impaler is believed to have rested there between slaughters, it says. So, in between big battles and all the impaling and everything he was doing, this is kind of where he rested. So if you haven't read Bram Stoker's Dracula, or if you haven't watched the movie, man, the movie's amazing. The book's even better. I bought a copy. I finally bought a copy of it. What was it, like 3 years ago? And I couldn't put it down. I had prior read the book I read before it was the Amityville Horror. I don't know why I was on a kick of great books that inspired, movies that I love, obviously, but just the idea of Dracula and the tie-in with Vlad the Impaler was so good. So I would definitely suggest going that. That'd be a kind of a dream. Romania is really cool anyway. That would be like a bucket list. If I had $1 zillion, I would travel to Romania and do the whole thing. But I guess there's a lot of tourism there. They really embrace the Dracula stuff. The old. I'm sure that they've got restaurants with themed stuff. Dracula burgers and all that. So, whatever. But they've got all sorts of tourism. I believe on Ghost Adventures, they did a Halloween special, like a long, I don't know, at the time, like a live investigation at maybe it was this castle. I think it was at this particular castle. So, if you want to go to Transylvania and you want to talk about an eerie place, an eerie space, this is definitely for you. So I think that's definitely number 3 worthy. Number 2 on the old list is for all you true crime fans and all you serial killer people, you ghouls and goblins out there. Number 2 is the Manson murder mansion in California. The night after Charles Manson's followers slaughtered pregnant actress Sharon Tate and 4 others in Hollywood Hills, California, home in 1969, they stormed a Los Feliz neighborhood home and brutally killed grocery store chain owner Lino LaBianca and his wife Rosemary. Tate's rental house in Benedict Canyon has been torn down, but the LaBianca home still stands. looking for a brave buyer, unafraid of spirits of the slain. The couple said that bought the house said they still haunt the place. The Spanish style 2 bedroom, 2 bathroom home is they okay, so those people, the people who owned it before, I guess, put it up for sale. And of course, investigator Zach Bagans swooped in, and he's bought this house now. He bought it in 2019, and he uses it for film production. They say there's a very strange energy in the house. He told The Guardian, it's a beautiful place with a very dark history. Bagans ultimately coached the filming idea out of respect for relatives of the couple and hung a for sale sign. So now it's being listed by him. So he must have had plans to. He must have had plans to do big things with it, do a big production out of it, and everything else. But Zach Bagans has the museum, which I'm dying to go to in Las Vegas, the Haunted Museum, and I really want to go so bad. I mean, there's so many. It's inside a haunted building in general, but on top of all that, I mean, he has bought a ridiculous amount of the most haunted artifacts in all of the world. I mean, they've got serial killer Ed Gein's cauldron that he supposedly used to cook people up. I mean, they've got Dr. Kevorkian's van in there, and they've got all sorts of. I mean, they've got everything. They've got. I don't know if they still have Annabelle. I think Annabelle the doll was in there for a while, but they have a boatload of other haunted dolls, and you have to sign a disclaimer to go in. So Zach Bagans bought that from Ghost Adventures, and now it's he decided not, out of respect to the families and everything else, he decided to not capitalize on it, which is really cool. And he put it up for sale for a whopping $2.2 million. So if you have $2.2 million and you're a ghoul and you want to make this a haunted Airbnb or whatever, there you go. That's the price tag for it. But apparently this says a price tag that apparently scared buyers more than the ghosts. Since then he's lowered it to $1,999,000 instead. So it's come down a little bit, but not much. So we'll wait and see if anybody buys that. But according to this, it hasn't been bought yet. I'll have to do an update on that because this magazine came out a while ago. So maybe it's already been bought and it's an Airbnb and you can stay there or whatever. So, but this was a Manson murder mansion here, but it's not like the place where Sharon Tate got murdered. And if you watch oh gosh, why am I blanking now? And it's like one of my favorite movies, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. That movie is so fantastic, and I just watch it over and over again. I like how they tied all that crazy stuff together, and then they kind of made their own ending to it all, which was great. And the girl gets blasted with the flamethrower, and it's pretty fantastic. It's one of my favorite somewhat current films, so you really can't go wrong with Leonardo DiCaprio and Brad Pitt in the same movie. So plus there's many other great actors and actresses as well. So that was number 2 on the list. Now number one is a stone's throw away from that, really. Not too, I mean, well, California's pretty big, but you could drive here and then float to this place, get on a ferry, and work your way over there. But number 1 on the list is Alcatraz, the famous, super famous prison and site of so much history and man, just a fascinating place, the tourist destination number one if you're in the San Francisco area. Let's read about what they say about it. The last hardened inmates were marched off the rock when it closed in 1963 after 50 years of operation as a prison, but some of their spirits stayed behind, haunting the old cell blocks on San Francisco Bay that once housed the likes of Machine Gun Kelly, James Whitey Bulger. On bone-chillingly foggy nights, you can listen for swinging of rusty doors, voices from the 8x4 foot cells. 8x4 foot cells, yikes! That's like a that's like a upscale downtown apartment at this point. Even the music from Al Capone's mournful banjo. I guess Al Capone, well, everybody knows that Al Capone was there, and he had a lavish, decorated, nice, big cell where it was like a little living room for him. But he was obviously still sad for being locked up, so he played a mournful banjo, and maybe still does. So, Alcatraz is number one. Man, there's just so much about Alcatraz that's cool. You can see it in so many different movies. You can, there was escape attempts. You can hear about it on everything. I still watch old episodes of Unsolved Mysteries, and I can still remember to this day, like watching the episode where they talked about the big escape at Alcatraz and how they never found the guys, and and then you watch the movie with Clint Eastwood, where they, which was about it, where they escape. You can also see Alcatraz on everything. You can watch the movie The Rock, where, not to be confused with Dwayne Johnson, where they take it over and they want to use it for, bad guys take it over and they want to, what were they going to do? They were going to like bomb San Francisco and bomb different places or whatever, and all the wild stuff that happens in that. But that movie is a killer movie if you haven't seen that. I mean, it's just, man, it's just so completely and totally iconic, and the fact that it's kept up like that and for tourism it's still there is amazing. It's definitely somewhere I want to go someday. I haven't been to San Francisco. I've only been to LA visiting my cousin, and we honestly didn't take in as many sites as we wanted to, probably because of whatever just came out of my mouth there. Probably because it sound like a Blumpkin hick, and probably get beat up in Los Angeles. So probably a good thing we didn't venture out too much. But there's a picture on this of says frightening figure. Guards reported seeing an entity they called the Thing, which had glowing eyes. Unfortunately, in this picture, I don't see the Thing at all. I just see a picture of the hallways with blood smeared over it. But cool picture. I'm sure there's a ton of I know all the ghost shows and all the boatloads of paranormal investigation teams have went through there and said it's haunted, so I guess we'll have to take their word for it. But check out the evidence that I'm sure is a plentiful on everything. And that's it, everybody. I mean, that was a great number one. It's a pretty cool list overall. I felt good about it. So those were your top 10 eerie places and spaces in the old world, mostly here in the United States. Why the United States is so haunted, it's probably because there's a boatload of history here, but I'm sure there's plenty of other eerie spaces that are way more haunted than these. So that was your top 10. That was my attempt at putting together at least getting something out there so I can maintain my deadline. I'm going to try to have shows done on Tuesdays, right there at 12:01 a.m. or whatever on Tuesday. It should be out there on YouTube and on all the streaming services. So I'm not gonna have any time for any other segments today. So we're just gonna have to go with that. I hope you enjoyed this first episode. It was a doozy. I wish that I could have had my guest on. Wish I could have had somebody on, but that's all right. This is a good first episode. There's plenty more to come. If you want to be a guest on the CAIN STEVENS Super Show, please contact me on Facebook under CAIN STEVENS Super Show. You can message me there. You can also get a hold of me on really everywhere, just under CAIN STEVENS Paranormal Super Show. Just look me up on TikTok, Instagram, all that good stuff. So I look forward to hearing from you. I look forward to entertaining you. I want to hear your stories. If you're a musician out there, I would like to, especially local musicians in the Lincoln, Nebraska area or in Omaha. If you want to talk, I would love to do an interview on you. If if you want to talk about ghosts, whatever you want to talk about, just get a hold of me. If you want to be on the show, I'd love to have you. So please continue to tune in, spread the word, tell your friends that the CAIN STEVENS Super Show is here to stay, and we're going to be streaming everywhere, including YouTube. So also check out some of the videos that I'll be doing. And when I do interviews, I will have interview videos as well. So thank you guys for listening to the CAIN STEVENS Super Show. It's been real. It's been fun. It's even been real fun at times. So, and just in closing, I'll just leave you with a word of advice, just instead of being a stranger, just be strange. So, all right, we'll talk to you soon. We'll see you guys on the other side.